welcome to the LHC. And today, I'm going to sort of ease off on my constant meddling in how the story flows and lead this straight to Hugh. Hugh, what are we talking about today?
Today, well, specifically we're talking about a certain thing, but mostly I'm wanting to talk about wasted potential. Because wasted potential annoys me more than a bad thing. Like, you know,
more than bad art, you mean? Wasted potential in art annoys you more than bad art. Yeah.
Yes, art's a good way of summing it all up. But you know, when you're playing a game or watching a show or reading a book or just anything like that, and you just think, like, I'm happy enough watching bad stuff. Like, I actually watch a fair bit of stuff that I recognise is pretty awful objectively, but I still enjoy it because I'm not really expecting more from it than what it is. But when something comes along that you think should be really good or has some really fantastic ideas, you know, like when you end up watching something that is absolutely fantastic but then has one of the most irritating conclusions. So something maybe like Lost. A lot of people were really into Lost and thought it was fantastic and really good, and then the ending is so unsatisfying that it kind of puts a lot of people off.
Yeah,
yes,
giving up on Lost in season 2 was one of the best decisions I ever made. I saved so much wasted time.
Well, I watched every single episode and I regret a lot of them, but I don't tend to regret many things. But no, it is this thing where wasted potential is a worse thing than just doing a bad thing. So, you know, when you're trying to cash in on I don't know, Pitch Perfect 7 or Jaws 18, Now They Are Flying. You know, anything like that.
I want to see Jaws 18, oh no, the shark can fly.
Well, come on, that's basically Sharknado, I suppose.
Yeah.
No, this is the thing, like, you're not expecting anything from them, it's fine, but when something comes on that you really either sounds like it's massively your thing. I mean, going off on a thing that we're not talking about today, yesterday I watched a film on Netflix called Escape Room. Now, I love going to escape rooms. I think they're a lot of fun, and I've done quite a few of them. I also really enjoy the Saw franchise, which I know is one of those things on the list of things people should never admit to actually enjoying. I generally enjoy serial killer stories about people getting murdered horribly in particularly inventive ways, particularly if there's puzzles around them. But Escape Room, the 2017 film on Netflix, I'm aware there's a 2019 one which is meant to be better, was one of the worst films I have ever seen, ever. Like, this is a thing you have to especially if you're going to hit me right in my sort of genre niches, you have to do pretty badly. Like, I'm someone who still has enjoyed pretty much every Saw film. I think there's one that was a bit, but other than that, they're pretty solid all the way through. And yet, this film, it's awful in so many ways, and partially because I was just really hoping for better, and it did have potential, and it threw everything away, which sort of brings me in a roundabout way to I keep watching Sword Arts. I keep watching it, and I keep expecting it to get better, and it keeps annoying me. And I keep thinking, but it's so on the borderline of great. But it's weird, because you would have thought that good is next to great, wouldn't you? Like, if you were to sort of draw a scale between 0 and 10...
You think it just keeps going up, don't you?
No. I'm saying, you sort of think, you assume that right next to 10 out of 10 is 9 out of 10. That's not true, because Sword Art is consistently next to great, but that doesn't make it good, that makes it kind of crappy in a lot of ways. Like, it mostly, when I'm watching it, I find I'm mostly just annoyed at it, even though it's actually not bad, and because it could be excellent. It could be absolutely fantastic, and it kind of was at first as well.
It had a powerful... It's interesting that you brought up Escape Room, because essentially that was the first setting, the bit where Sword Art really got its key chunk of people really interested in it, was in the setting of Ironclad, which was where everyone were trapped in a fantasy RPG.
Exactly, yes. So Series 1... I'm going to talk about series based on arcs, to be honest, because I'm aware there are 3 series now. There's Sword Art, Sword Art 2, and Sword Art Alicization. But really, each series has had 2 chunks of it for Series 1 and 2, and then Alicization it's only got the first half of series out anyway. So I'm going to talk about them as if they're sort of 5 arcs. So I'll just to let you know the layout we'll be using for the rest of it. So Arc 1 is Sword Art, and there is going to be massive spoilers for all 5 arcs of Sword Art that are currently aired, but nothing beyond sort of episode 13 of Alicization.
That's true. I should say a massive content warning for not just spoilers, but also incredible self-indulgent story writing that appeals to a very small market that gets very into this sort of thing. In a way, Sword Art, a lot of people say Sword Art started the isekai thing, which I don't agree with. I think Sword Art just put together all these disparate pieces and included one of the other desperate pieces that had kind of faded away, gladly, of the super important, boring dude.
Well, I'm going to actually request that you, just for the listeners, obviously I know what it means, define isekai for me. Okay,
isekai, well, I don't actually count Sword Arts as isekai, but it kind of gets lumped in there. Isekai is when, for whatever reason, we have a main character or characters who are swept away to a different world with different rules, and they have to just deal with it. The two earliest ones I can remember are famously Fushigi Yugi, where the main characters are drawn into a fantasy book world, and I think it's called 12... Oh, I've got the book up on my shelf, but I can't see it. Legend of the 12 Kingdoms, or it might just be called 12 Kingdoms, where people fall into an alternate world of, surprise, surprise, 12 kingdoms. Actually, no, there are 13. That's the 8th book. But anyway, the great thing about 12 Kingdoms and Fushigi Yugi that separate them so far apart from current isekai is all the main characters are women, and especially for what's the word? Oh, it's left me. Especially for 12 Kingdoms, the fact that people fall into this alternate world is acknowledged, and there is an actual support infrastructure for them in the other magical world.
That's an interesting idea, because when you talked about that, I have no idea about either of those two shows. I have not seen or read or anything. But the two that I immediately thought of, which I have seen, would be Escaflowne, where they turn up and it is like a magical world, and her ability to run, apparently. Her
ability to run and tell fortunes, that's also that as well. Her dowsing ability. But you're right. Yeah. That's another thing, so Escaflowne is kind of an example of this, and it does show the difference when you're marketing between women and men, because Escaflowne is just as much you're actually really important wish fulfillment, because the main character goes to this alternate world and all the sexy men are fighting over it. Well, the two sexy men are fighting over it. And all of her skills are somehow vitally important in this world and make her really useful and everything. And it's just, lovely. But, there are characters other than her, and their whole lives are also important. Hitomi is important in Escaflowne, but so is Varn. Varn is also very important.
Makai Kingdom, I think. No, not Makai Kingdom, not Maggie. What the hell am I thinking of? You know that one that I watched that was like a children's sort of shonen anime that I can never remember the name of.
Was that the one where the bad guys were called chess?
Yeah, the chess Nokoma.
See, now I didn't know that was an isekai, actually. So that's someone being brought into another world.
Episode 1, it's some young blonde kid gets dragged into another world, and
Oh, you're thinking of Ma. That's what it was called.
Ma! Machen Awakens Romance. Thank you. Yes, I've just been Googling it in the background. I missed it. You've managed to remember it before I did. Yeah, so Machen Awakens Romance. Again, it's little kid gets sent in there, and turns out that actually this is a place where everyone wants to fight, but unlike a war, they're like, no. War would be a lot more civilized if we just had a series of one-on-one duels in some sort of tournament. Because that's much easier and better to create for shonen anime.
Yeah.
Oh, the amount of shonen anime that just have the most convoluted bullshit to make everything a tournament.
Oh, yeah.
But no, it's a case of he turns up there, but apparently either gravity's different or, something like that. But he's basically the strength of 10 normal people, and therefore automatically good.
Ah, cool. These are, I still think, even going recent as Ma, these things have, they're similar to what I would call an isekai story. And if the other isekai stories of which Sword Arts is closer to weren't all so powerfully focused around making one character super powerful, I'd link them. But so many of the current isekai that come out, and they come out mostly in light novels first and are generally adapted into other media, is their idea of being not just a wish fulfillment, but like a power wish fulfillment. Yeah. Like, Trapped in Another World with My Smartphone, where literally a regular Japanese guy whose just ability to look things up on his smartphone allows him to completely mess with a fantasy world. There's another one. Oh, crud, I've forgotten it. What's it called? Gate, of course, which is an isekai power fantasy for the Japanese self-defense force. Yeah,
I've got that on my to-watch list. I've heard it's worth seeing, but I haven't actually got around to it yet. I actually, as soon as you said that, I remembered No Game, No Life is also that as well.
Yeah, No Game, No Life is very much that,
you do
and has a bit more
sit at home and play games. Oh well, I guess you'll love this alternate world
where everything is decided by games. Exactly, it has a bit. Yeah. I only say that probably because I watched it and vaguely enjoyed it, but it's actually, when you look back at it, it's kind of creepy.
Oh no, I rewatched. So I have been doing a thing where I show my wife all the things that I've purchased in an effort to prove that I have sound judgment, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Like Fruits Basket was apparently excellent, and the thing about if you watch No Game No Life back, like I do own the Blu-rays, and they are really good, provided you can keep putting to one side the fan service, which is actually, I think, a reasonably good description of anime. Generally, as a 32-year-old man, it is fairly good for me to just say, anime. It's really good if you can put aside the fan service, which is often creepy, and I can't say I remember noticing as much when I was 18 as I do now.
No, I'm genuinely shocked about some of the stuff that I used to be completely fine with, and it would just pass me by. It's not like I would look for it. It would just, you'd be able to compartmentalize it.
Exactly. You just deal with it. You're just like, oh, well, I guess she's a prize. I guess I haven't really acknowledged that until I rewatched it 20 years later. You know, it's a bit...
I'm glad we've grown up a little bit.
I hope so, yeah. We weren't bad, to be fair, at uni. Okay, now we're just getting into you and I reminiscing about uni, so...
But yeah, I know what you mean. Good example, No Game, No Life is like their... It does it better because it's got more of an understandable method. They don't sort of just acquire these superhuman abilities. They actually have to work for them. But there's a lot of others. And there are other ones, like I know that that time I got reincarnated as a slime is...
I've seen that advertised.
Yeah, that's apparently better because the character is better. That's the thing. It's when you notice when there are characters when it's just quite clearly Jeff McBoring and it's all about ladies throwing themselves at him.
Actually, this which brings us going to bring up back round, Sword Art. Yes.
Which brings us back round to Sword Arts, because I'm always a bit on the edge about how boring Kirito really is, our main character.
I like Kirito, to be honest. I actually do like him. I find him interesting enough, and I don't find him dull. I don't think he's got any notable, massive, major things that yellow out what his character is, but then I often find that's annoying in some ways when you've got like, oh no, my character is the no self-confidence wimp, so My Hero Academia, for example, where it's just a case of he's pretty and all he does is sort of moan about how he can't do anything but then tries and then does it. Or you've got the I'm loud, brash and obnoxious, ha ha ha, slap you on the back sort of characters. And I don't mind having a thing that's... He's just kind of normal. Like, he's just sort of nothing particularly interesting about him. And actually, that is what you'd get from most of the high school Japanese guys who spend majority of their free time on MMOs.
Well, indeed, that's the point, isn't it? They're supposed to... You're supposed to be able to imagine yourself in their place or something. I think that's what a lot of people kind of admire about them. They seem relatable, which is kind of interesting because Kirito is quite clearly not relatable. He's very quickly sort of revealed to be kind of like a sort of on the sort of, what's the word, like super level computing person who also happens to really like games. And I guess it's because it's very vague about it. Like, his actual achievements in universe, in the fields of both, like, being a sword arty person and also computers, seem quite impressive, because he's able to do quite a lot of interesting stuff, but it's very deliberately vague about it, because I don't think the author is that interested in emphasizing that much.
I think so. I think personally as well, the thing about Kirito is also that I find, since we're going to look at the first arc first, so the Kirito in the first arc is fine. He was a beta tester of the original game, and as such, he knows a lot about it. He's already got like several hours of gameplay style, and he's also a pretty hardcore MMO player. So it's not unusual. So one thing that I am going to come back to and really beat Sword Arts down about later on is nonsense, coincidental, absolute, like, statistical anomaly bullshit. But one of the things I didn't get annoyed at in the first series, again, back to this wasted potential, the first series really does lead you in to something where they make a lot of good decisions, because one good decision is that we follow the character of Kirito. Now, everyone in the original Sword Arts is just someone who decided to buy a game on release day. That's it. Because the game is locked down about 6 hours into release day, so that none of the players can escape, and if they die in the game, they die for real. Which I actually would say, now you've defined what, was it isekai? Is? I don't think it is one, because it's not you accidentally sort of fell into another world. It's it's really just more like, as we said, with Escape Room, it's you've signed up to a thing which turned out to be deadly, but you still signed up to the thing. Well, you still knew what it was going to be about. It just turned out to be having higher stakes than you had before. Something like Kaiji as well, where he agrees to do gambling and then doesn't quite realise it's going to cost him his life or an arm and a leg, like literally.
That's not really what I meant. It's not really how you get there. It's more of a place divorced from your everyday life with different rules, so that your existing, generally wimpy and geeky skills are more useful. It's not necessarily being pulled into another world. You can go there willingly. And also, like I said, the thing that unifies this current breed of isekai, which I sort of clump Sword Arts with, is the idea of this very powerful main character who is almost uniformly male and surrounded with female admirers for no good reason.
Yep. I'm going to come on to that. Don't worry.
But that was
that one go.
That would be like the thing that I have the problem with that isekai compared to previous isekai when you go all the way back. I mean, a lot of people would probably say, "Oh, she's surrounded by sexy guys in Fushigi Yugi." I'd say that's more of a 12 stars situation, which Fushigi Yugi draws upon the 108 stars. Because it's quite clearly drawing from that novel. But yeah, moving on.
So the thing I was just saying is that I kind of like the setup of the original series. And I don't mean kind of. I incredibly like the setup of the original series.
I think it's very good, yeah.
Yeah, a world with predefined rules of an MMO where it's life or death, because if you die for real, and let's investigate the psychological ramifications of the people trapped there, as well as what goes on in terms of the society structure. It's something that I think it does it very well. And a similar one was, not that we should just keep spending the entire time naming other anime, but Log Horizon, except it's Log Horizon, they end up trapped there. But again, it's not, you die in the real world, we're all scared or anything, but it is sort of, I guess we're stuck here forever. How are we going to deal with that? And I like the fact that Sword Arts really did focus quite well on what people do when they find out they're trapped. So if you look at a few of the immediate characters, you've got Kirito. His initial reaction is one of, oh fuck, self-preservation. Using his beta tester knowledge, he power levels himself very quickly at the expense of other people. And
because he says he knows immediately how the scarcity of the game and how the scarcity works. So he's like, I've got to get these things so I can be powerful enough to not die.
Yeah. So the thing is, what you could have done in that situation is to go back and go, right, everybody stay calm. Everybody, we're going to talk about this. I am a beta tester. Let me train all of you now in the basics. I will keep you alive, and then I will advise you on the early quests to get you up to a point where nothing on this floor will kill you, and then we'll start working on, he could do that. He could go in and be a leader.
Could he?
But I think he could. I think at that point, people are looking for anyone to sort of be a case of, teach them how to... I mean, for a start, nobody really knows how to play. And if you don't know how to play, like, there are times where in a game you just don't understand the mechanics well enough and you might get a game over on the tutorial dungeon. It's not often, but it does happen. And frankly, if it was a life or death situation, you'd be very, very careful. But a lot of these people, it might have been a gift. Like, Asuna had never played an MMO before, and a lot of the other people might have. The fact that you buy it on day one and are playing it, I think some of them said it was like my partners and I'm playing it before they get home and I got locked in, or some people bought it for their kids, or some people bought it but it was the first one they ever had and they bought it because it was meant to be like a game changer, huge cultural event. So that's fair enough. I do think, yeah, he could have gone back and he could have said, I will be teaching people how to survive in here. If you wish to do that, join my guild here. It's not a proper guild yet because I haven't got the money to start one up, but I will show you where the quests are in the first few areas and all of that. He could have done that.
I don't think that would mesh well, one, with Kirito's character, and also
I didn't say it would mesh well with his character.
The kind of like character they're building for Kirito. I think a lot of the things that people like about the people who like Kirito is because he goes his own way.
I know, and I agree, but my point was, I said he chooses the selfish option, and you said he couldn't have done anything else.
No, I do think he couldn't have, as in, there's literally too many other competing textual, both metatextual and actual textual things in the way. Like, there's like thousands of people freaking out. You say he could walk in there. No, I don't think anyone, no matter how charismatic, of which Kirito is not charismatic, could go in there and do that. And I also... When something is not in character for a character, it may as well be impossible for them.
I'm not saying it's in character. I'm saying I found it interesting the different things that everyone chose to do which fit their character. So, like, Asuna just thinks, I've got to get out as quickly as possible, and joins the group that seems to be the most powerful in terms of pushing forward and getting out as fast as possible.
Well, that doesn't happen for a long time.
Push out. I'm not saying immediate. I'm saying their reactions to being in this situation. And whilst the actual setup doesn't happen for a long time, because we don't see what she's doing day one to, end of year one or whatever particularly. The first time we see her, she's already joined the guild and is sort of pushing forward. And, massive spoiler alert, but the fact that the guy who set all of this up is the guy who founded that guild, which is the most progressive guild in the game. Clearly, he's rounding up people who want to sort of push forward and getting them into a guild to progress as fast as possible. But so Kirito decides he's going to power level on his own and use his own personal knowledge. Asuna decides that she's going to join a big guild and do that. Other people, such as Klein and the Black Cat Guild, they just group up into their own units of people I joined this game to play with and friends, and say we're going to all stick together in a small group and we're going to protect our own without necessarily particularly progressing the game, but what we're going to do is keep each other alive and help each other. Several people go into denial and jump off the edge as well. And some people just go and die to prove it's not all real. And I do think that was an interesting one. And then later on, when you have like the guilds of people who've kind of snapped and start murdering people.
Oh yes, the endless resource of every antagonist in the story, which is Laughing Coffin, the PK guild, of which everyone eventually comes back from. It turns out like nearly every antagonist is an ex-Laughing Coffin member.
Do you know what I heard? I actually heard that Hitler founded Laughing Coffin.
I heard it was Genghis Khan.
No, it was in a book he found of Genghis Khan's, which was, given to him by the devil in the Garden of Eden. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so, it is. It would in the Sword Art Online universe, it would be surprising if literally everyone who was ever bad was somehow linked to Laughing Coffin.
Yeah, no, it really wouldn't surprise
me. Do you know the reason why that is? It's because the Sword Art arc is the most popular arc, and finding anything that can tie it back to being like Sword Art is something that fans enjoy.
And the Sword Art arc is the most popular because it is the best one.
Well, because it's the one where the stakes are just immediately the highest. And there's a great sequence that's in the extended books and in the what's the word? Even though you know what's going to happen in the TV series quite early on, where Kirito does join the guild. Isn't that the Black Cat Guild?
The Black Cat Guild is the best arc in the best sort of mini arc in the first arc entirely. It really is, and it fleshes out his character very well, but it also...
It shows that he has none.
Well, fine, but I would say what it does is it also really reinforces his actions. Like, first...
His loner actions, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It is a case of... He, first of all, goes, people will kind of be horror... First he goes, I'm going to protect myself because of the scarcity problems, so I'm going to go and do all the quests as quickly as possible and power level me. That's his first action. Then he discovers that people doing that has kind of pissed off a lot of the non-beta tester players, and he's now being called a beta, portmanteau of beta and cheater.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's pretty much, going, oh, well, I guess people won't really have me. But after a while, the beta thing kind of dies down a little, and he doesn't necessarily have that on him all the time. Not everybody knows he's that, especially because he's a lone player. He's not actually as sort of sweeping through enemies in an obvious way, that he's not got much of a reputation. And then, he can join a guild. And then he gets that entire guild slaughtered, and they all die, and he's grown really close to a lot of them. And that's got to be brutal. And it completely reinforces why you would not form emotional attachments, because they die horribly, and it's your fault, and then you blame yourself for the rest of it. So... yeah, I think it's an excellent little arc as well with that.
Yeah, it's a good bit of tragedy in it. I mean, it's a bit harsh, as always, though, to chew up literally an entire guild just to add to Kirito's angst and everything.
You are basically fridging them, I do think.
Well, yeah, on the grounds that it is all about Kirito's suffering, and you can kind of see from the get-go of, I wonder how this is going to turn out. But at the same time, looked at it as an individual story, it's a nice, tragic story.
Oh, yeah, it really is, yeah.
Yeah, it's just kind of noticeable how Kirito is the one who has to turn up. In a sense, Kirito moves through this the same way as the reader, again, sort of tying the reader's POV to Kirito and making everyone identify with Kirito. It's not like Kirito meets these people and Kirito is the one that dies, and you have one person left from the Black Cat Guild who has to inherit Kirito's, mantle or something. No, it's just Kirito meets these people, he becomes their friend, he really likes them, then they all die, and it proves to him how, sad he needs to be.
Well, in fairness, it kind of proves, because him joining they wouldn't have died if he didn't join them, I think is the major thing that actually he's right about, and I can kind of see why he gets in a big angst spiral about it. Because, he did get them all killed, really. I mean...
It made them all far too confident in everything.
Yeah, exactly. And then they went into a dungeon without him, and...
No, he was there, wasn't he?
Oh, no, sorry, no, they went... Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
They discovered a trap where you can't see... It's been years since I've watched this, but there is one thing about Sword Art, is it's memorable, because I remember this. They went into a room with a chest... Basic mistake, and got ambushed.
Oh, God.
And it also shows, Sword Art Online as a game, I don't want to sound like, get really geeky on it, but that sounds like a hard, unforgiving game, even if you didn't die. Because in this dungeon there's this place with a chest, and if you go into it, it traps you, and you have to get surrounded by and have to fight a load of monsters that are way higher level than the monsters in the area. It's like, can you use the escape crystals to just get out of it after you've got the item? No.
Yeah. So that actually, thank you for bringing me to the next point, which is looking at Sword Art Online as a game. As a game, at first it seems like it's quite a good, interesting idea. And then you realise it's a shitty game. Yeah,
especially because, like we said right at the beginning, it's got scarcity with how regularly they respawn and everything, and in order to get money. So there's this massive... That's how you end up with gold farming. I mean, they even had that in Warcraft. That's not going to be good.
No, you have people just camping monsters, and you have the fact that I can't take a quest because Jeff, the quest giver, needs only one quest done a day.
Yeah. He does say that, doesn't he? He says these early quests, once you take them, they're gone. So it's like in Elder Scrolls, the MMO, when anyone could take anything from any chest. So very quickly, if you go to a place where someone's already looted it, it's tough. Unless you wait until the respawn, which is a long time, all of the treasure is gone from this place.
Yep.
There are very few, instance areas where you are completely on your own.
And that's, firstly, yes, the fact that sort of stuff exists, it's pretty crappy as a sort of a gaming system, because what I think Sword Art is really demonstrating is this sort of attitude about you are the one. You are the guy. Now, Sword Art has a lot of people playing, and it's intended to have a lot more. If you think about the fact that this is day one, all the people who signed up, and mostly, as far as I'm aware, but this isn't even like after work. This is sort of people who've either taken the day off.
Yeah. People who've Dragon Quested it.
Yeah, it's just a case of, right, and they lock in. I honestly can't remember, and the internet's not helping me when I'm just having a look.
How many people? I think it was
it was about
10,000 people. Yeah.
I know 2,000 were dead within the first month. Yeah. I know that.
Ugh.
And that is just like I said, that's the people who don't know how to play, or the people who have had a mental break and don't believe it, or the people whose family outside have just ripped the headsets off.
Yeah, which kills them. It's like, ugh.
God, imagine that you don't actually hear about the fact that this kills you, and you just come home and you think, oh, Jeff's playing this fucking game again. He's always on his games. I just need to talk to him. I've put it off for 5 minutes and ask him what he wants for dinner. And you've murdered him! Well, you haven't murdered him, but you've manslaughtered him, I suppose, because you have caused his death indirectly through ignorance.
Yeah.
But, so it's all a bit horrible. But, that's one thing that's bloody stupid about this game, is that you have 10,000 players on day one, and that is 10,000 players who are the people who took the time off to do it whilst they're meant to be at work or similar, right? Mm-hmm. So that's one thing. Second thing is that then you've got these quests which you can only do one a day. So there's an NPC who only needs one person a day. Now, if every single one of the 10,000 people wants to do that quest, that is going to take you about 30 years.
Oh my God, I didn't think about it like that.
And that's the people here on... Yeah, because if you think about it, that's 365 quests a year, which means that in the space of 3 years, about the first 1,000 can do it. And therefore,
Jesus
30 years it takes you for every single person to do Jeff needs a bakery help quest in town 1, where he's just like, could you go and get me some flour from the wheat fields outside the main town, right? So that's bloody stupid. And obviously there aren't enough quests in the game to satisfy all the players to do at least one quest a day. So again, bloody stupid. This doesn't work as a game at all. Second thing, doesn't work as a game at all. When a floor boss is defeated, that is the floor boss done forever.
Yeah, you can't go back and beat the floor boss again.
No, you can't go back. And so, assuming it's the death trap, right, that's one thing. It does work as a death trap rule, because, yes, you've beaten that thing. It's not going to horribly murder you. But as a game? That's stupid. I'm sorry. You wanted to play this, but I'm afraid only the first players... The literal first players can actually beat this boss.
Yeah, you come in like a month later, tough.
Yeah, because a month later, you will always be a month behind the obsessives. Because there's always obsessives. Every time you play a game and you look into it, there's always going to be someone who's put all their free time into it and have ended up like doing all the research and mechanics and is like, you know, when they release a new World of Warcraft patch and there's a couple of guilds who are rushing to be... You know, I killed it first guy of who beat the final boss of this new patch first, right?
Yeah.
So, as a game, it's a stupid idea that, again, you are the one. You are the one person who can do the quests. You are then the one person who can actually beat the boss. Because, of course, as the only person who's done the bloody quests, you're the only person leveled enough to do the boss. So it's really rewarding your top-end players and continually punishing. So... When they released things on the Wii console the idea was it was meant to be sort of built around a lot more family and party, and it was a lot more user friendly. So in certain racing games, when you're in front, it artificially drags you so that you can't get too far ahead. So your max speed is reduced by 5%, 10%.
Rubber banding. This is done a lot in a lot of
rubber
games.
Banding.
Yeah.
So it's done in a lot of games. But when the Wii was released and they released the newest Mario Kart, the rubber banding was so horrendous that actually anybody in first was dragged back to such a hugely ludicrous degree that actually the best way to win is to simply stay in sort of the middle of the pack until about half a lap and then just destroy everyone in front of you with one ridiculously overpowered item you got when you drop back into fourth or drop back into, the latter end of the 12 people. But what Sword Art has is the opposite. It has rubber banding the other way.
Yeah,
it's constantly rewarding you for already being ahead.
Ooh.
And anybody who arrives back, it ends up punishing them for not being the people who were already ahead. Again, stupid idea for a game mechanic. There are games that have been released with this mechanic, and do you know what you end up with? You end up with servers where the only people who are actually able to play are the people who've been playing for years, and the people who try and start. So, especially mobile games where it's competitive. The people who turn up and they're just like, hi, I'm level 1. They go, tough, everybody here is level 2000 and you'll be instantly murdered the minute you arrive.
Exactly. I mean, the worst game that ever pulled this is Capitalism. Oh! Because the moment you were saying this, I was like, is Hugh going to say it's Capitalism first or shall I say it?
No, I was happy for you to say it. Yeah.
Because Sword Art Online, we've just realised, is basically capitalism. The RPG. It's like if you've been from the start and you've got early advantages due to luck, you will just keep on stockpiling advantages.
Not necessarily even luck, but being, one of the people who were on the beta test, which is the equivalent of being born into someone's inheritance tree.
Yeah.
But
and that's kind of the people who hate Kirito because of that are kind of shown to be, what's the word, antagonistic or wrong, because he's just trying to save everybody. He just needs to amass all these resources for himself. If only you let Kirito and his friend Ayn Rand consume all the resources to themselves, they'd be able to save everybody through trickle-down RPG-onomics.
Yes, exactly. So, of course, if I had all the money in the entirety of Sword Art, I would come and I would use your services, and therefore that's how you get money, is that I give you a pittance.
We make fun of that, but that's exactly what happens. Kirito's best friends are all supporting people. The item shop owner, Agril.
No, absolutely. So, again, another example, right, of how it's bloody stupid. Again, each floor you get to only has a certain amount of buildings, and when you buy them, you have bought them. And that's yours.
Forever. No inheritance tax.
If you turn up late, you do not get to buy a building because there aren't any.
Or you can buy a building, but you have to buy it off someone who already owns it, who will need a profit from that building.
Exactly, and therefore you will have to be paying a higher price. And again, the people who already got there first, and therefore are obviously a higher level than you, and are probably already several floors up by now, earning a lot of money, you're going to turn up and go, hey, here's an amount of money you could earn in like 2 monster kills. Can I pay you that to buy your house off you? And they're like, no, even though that's a profit of 300% of the original price of the house, I earn that in an hour.
Yeah.
I don't really need that. Fuck you. Go and live in the streets, randoms. Or admittedly, go and get an inn, as it were.
Yeah.
But again, it's rewarding the people who've already gone ahead. So now there are other examples of how it rewards these people as well. But I'm going to get to the biggest and most onerous of this stupid bullshit I am the one mechanics, right? Now, you may be Neo, you may be the one, and do you know how you know it? The game has skills that literally one person is allowed to have.
Yes, which is what Kirito gets. Kirito gets his dual wield skill.
I'm sorry, but dual wielding is only allowable by one person in my entire MMO.
Just to catch the people, there's more to catch other people who will complain if one of us doesn't mention this. It is given by monitoring Kiro's actions. Like, it's not given to him just because he's gotten to a certain skill level by investing points. It's actually been monitoring his reaction time. But that doesn't matter, because Kirito can only get that cool reaction time because he's had the early stuff where he's had the time to just play the game for a long time without fear of death.
It's also this thing where, again, you're monitoring your players and you're saying, right, okay, so you there over in the corner, I've had a look and you clearly have the biggest advantage over every other player because you have the fastest reaction time. So you know what I've decided to do?
I'll give you another skill that increases...
another thing to increase the gap between you and Joe Bloggs, who wasn't a beta tester and who didn't know what to do on day one. He's literally, you could have Kirito's, doppelganger a week late, just a case of he's always a week behind Kirito. And he would be failing. It's a case of he could be exactly as naturally gifted and exactly as intelligent.
Yeah.
But what you do is you have him turn up and he's like, right, okay, first things first, I don't want to die. Better work out the sword mechanics. And then time he spends learning how to play the game, all the quests have gone. So all the quests have gone, and he's just going to have to go and grind a few monsters. But there's a lot of scarcity of monsters because the respawn time is bloody stupid. And he's like, oh, okay, I better, go and try and find some monsters. So he spends an age trying to find some monsters. Meanwhile, Kirito's beaten the first 10 bosses and is floors ahead. And this guy, he's not really sure how difficult each floor is as well. So he's going to have to judge really carefully. You don't want to go up and find that, oh, it's actually a struggle for me to beat this. I've been killed. So in this game, you're always going to be, over-leveling before you go anywhere. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't know what over-leveling is. The minute this guy, who is Kirito's doppelganger, gets anywhere near the middle of the game, Kirito's finished.
Yeah.
Because he's had all these advantages given to him. And this guy is never going to get Kirito's best thing. Because, again, the further ahead you get, the more bonuses you are given. And it's not a case of, so in some games, when you get ahead, it gives you lots of bonuses. And that's fine. But it's pulling the bloody drawbridge up behind you. It's a case of Kirito had to walk along a drawbridge to get to the castle. Then he pulls up the bloody drawbridge. So the next person has to swim.
See, this is what happens. The players need to assume the means of leveling. we need to make it so that the people who play the game are rewarded for it.
But again, it's this thing where if you actually look at Sword Art as a game, it's awful.
Oh, it is awful.
If they'd released this game, what you'd have had is about a really small couple of guilds of hardcore players. Nobody knew, trying it, liking it, and staying. You'd have basically seen this huge population spike and a massive drop-off almost immediately until the servers were nigh abandoned, until a really hardcore group had beaten every single floor, all 100 floors, and then have nothing to do apart from dance around going, ha ha ha, now the game is unplayable because there's literally nothing to do now, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
That's it. It's a terrible game.
So I think as we've come to the end of an episode, I'll let it run long because I'd loved what we were saying. But a lot of what people do think of, and a lot of the sort of energy that gets put into Sword Arts is kind of imagining what you do in that situation, what kind of class you'd do, what kind of RPG thing you'd do, and if you'd be able to survive in that situation. And it's nice that we've revealed that both of us would lead a socialist revolution in Ironclad to even more evenly distribute items and stuff, because only the top 5% of players get all of the cool stuff.
String him up, that's what I say. Kirito is first against the wall when the revolution comes.
When the revolution comes, we will eat those of higher level than us.
Or at least we would, except
they're all higher level and they'd all kill us.
Then they can massacre 1,000 of us in a heartbeat.
It would be the Yellow Turban Rebellion. Oh, so that was lovely. So that was essentially a background on Ironclad and why it sucks. And
next time we're actually going to talk about Sword Art Arc 1.
We'll actually talk about the Sword Art Arc and how, if you're born into gaming privilege, it's all fine. And that's the end.